has called on President Cyril Ramaphosa to fire ANC ministers and deputy ministers implicated in corruption within the next 48 hours. Now, this after President Ramaphosa fired the Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry, Andrew Whitfield, in the Government of National Unity Cabinet. Whitfield is a Democratic Alliance political party member of Parliament, and he has said he was never given the reasons for his dismissal by President Cyril Ramaphosa when he received the letter of his termination yesterday. And to discuss this further, we are joined on the line by political analyst Sandile Swana. Sandile, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Good afternoon. Thank you, and good afternoon to your listeners.
Let me start by asking, do ultimatums work?
Yes, ultimata do work if you have the power, if you have something that the other party can lose. But in this instance, I think these are the bugs of a toothless dog.
Now, looking at President Cyril Ramaphosa's decision to fire the former deputy minister, how will this impact the Government of National Unity? And just also considering that every time there is a slight disagreement or, it's always the DA coming up and saying, we're going to pull out. There's always an ultimatum.
Yes, so all of us now know that that is something that doesn't work. As things stand, next to the door of the GNU, the Government of National Unity in South Africa, you have the EFF, which has publicly stated that should the DA come out of the GNU, the EFF is quite ready to take their place. It is likely that the Action SA political party in South Africa is also ready to take a seat or a number of seats, and the BOSA. So there's a few parties that could be quite happy to fill in any vacancy left by the DA. And those parties on foreign policy are more likely to agree with the ANC than the DA.
Now, is this a valid reason to dismiss the deputy minister Whitfield? This now, because according to the DA party leader John Steenhuisen, Whitfield was fired because of his travels abroad without getting permission. Is there another route that could have been used to resolve this?
So when you say this, it is the this that actually matters here. The this is that there is a conflict between the DA and the ANC, perhaps the ANC and the white minority in South Africa generally, where the white minority led by the DA, Freedom Front Plus and Solidarity want South Africa to be an ally, if not a satellite of the United States, to be an enclave of Western white Christian civilization in Africa, and to look after American interests. So all of those demands that the DA is pushing for the time being are focused in two departments, one being the foreign affairs or international relations, the other one being trade and industry, where there are discussions about AGOA, about trade tariffs and so on. Unfortunately, every time these white South Africans interact with the United States of America, it has been to worsen the position of South Africa and to worsen the position of the African National Congress. So it may not just be the issue of the visit itself, it will be also the issue of ongoing activities during this period of negotiations as to what is it exactly that Whitfield is doing that Ramaphosa found intolerable to the point that he had to terminate him. And it doesn't need to be reasons, because anybody who serves anywhere in any part of the cabinet serves only at the president's pleasure. The president has got absolute authority to appoint and to disappoint anybody in the cabinet.
Do you foresee a cabinet reshuffle following Whitfield's dismissal?
That's exactly the point that the DA wants. And the state president has made it clear that this is not a cabinet reshuffle. The president is just removing a clear, undesirable element from the cabinet, and that element is a second deputy minister of trade and industry, because there are two deputies there. Limpi still remains as the deputy minister, so there is no real vacancy that is being created at this juncture.
Just for interest's sake, what should we as the public read into everything that is unfolding currently? As you touched on, the fact that there are continued negotiations between South Africa and the US. And there's a third element that seems to also be in the works, coming from the DA and whether the Freedom Front Plus and other parties that seem to also have their own agenda. How should we read into this current situation? And with President Ramaphosa being a very clearly decisive individual when it comes to such issues, could he have acted in a different manner? Or do you think at some point he will take us into his confidence as to exactly what unfolded?
I think what is unfolding is clear and it is not new. In 1998, Thabo Mbeki, the then deputy president of the Republic of South Africa, wrote that South Africa is made up of two nations. One white and very rich, the other one black and very poor. Now, the people who are doing business with the United States, the businesses are actually white businesses. There is no Murolong, no Gumede, no black man is doing any business, or black person is doing any business of any substance with the United States right now. So the negotiations with the United States are negotiations about white businesses, the interests of white people, really. The international businesses that are trading with the United States from South Africa, the 601 American businesses, and then you have European automakers, they have no problem being represented by our Department of Trade, Industry and Foreign Relations. The people who have a problem being represented by the Minister Lamola and Minister Dow are actually the white minority South Africans who do not see themselves as fit enough to be represented by these two black ministers for any number of reasons. And they want to resuscitate the relationship, as the golfers said, that they want the support of the United States similar to the support that they enjoyed during the days of the armed struggle, when the United States supported them in the war against Angola, the ANC, and the Cuban internationalist forces during the liberation. That was mentioned in the White House. So they are trying to resuscitate that old apartheid era relationship. That is what the DA and Solidarity and this Freedom Front Plus, these white minority organizations are trying to do. And Ramaphosa is wise in actually nipping this in the bud. So he needs to nip it in the bud. He needs to make sure that anything that is said by them or through them is actually not part of government policy.
Well, Sandile, it's always a pleasure chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining us on Africa Update. We'll leave it there for today. That's a political analyst, Sandile Swana, joining us on the line.
Africa Update on Channel Africa.